Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the 18th Annual Dive Pirates Ball. I am Tyler Brandis, the newly elected president of Dive Pirates Foundation. Thank you. I'm very fortunate to have two great mentors and friends that preceded me as the president. At this time, I would like to recognize Barbara Thompson and Sophie Wimberly, who couldn't join us tonight, but I have a special present that I'd like to present to Sophie. So Barbara, if you would come up and accept this on her behalf. Of course, we have to have a pirate sword.
All right, this is heavy. Arr!
All right. I'll take that so you don't have to sit with it.
Thank you, Carrie, but
You could use that to cut your steak.
yes. Thank you, and a word. And on behalf of everybody in the board and the members and everything here, you're doing a terrific job. So keep up the good work, and thank you for taking over.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite the woman who made me a pirate, my mother, Mary Brandis. My mom's going to lead us in the invocation.
Good evening. Yes, I used to hold this little guy in one arm, but I'm very proud of the young man that he has become. Would you bow with me in prayer, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this evening. So much work has gone into prepare it. And we're so thankful that for those who've come to support the great mission of Dive Pirates. We thank you for the recipients and the dedication that they have to putting in the work to become fully certified and to enjoy the beauty that you created under the sea. We thank you for the board and the staff and all who work so diligently to keep Dive Pirates going and growing. And Father, as we celebrate tonight, and we thank you for Dan as our speaker, and for Scott as the recipient, that you would just bless their time. We thank you for this food. We ask that you bless it to our bodies. Enable us, Father, to be better used in your service. And finally, Lord, I pray that you will touch hearts, touch hands, and clear out the wallets. And we'll praise you for all of that in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Mom. And now, if I could have Lou Brown, if you'd please join me on stage. Lou is one of our longstanding parliamentarian. She's one of our founding board members, mother of pirates, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much.
Please join me in this wonderful privilege which we enjoy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic with which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dive Pirates serves our community by combating denial and isolation with an inclusive and code of honor. All crew members have an important role to play as we meet many of our recipients at the crossroads of accepting their life-altering injuries, shaking many to their core, and at the core is their truth. Each year, the foundation strives to live by a creed set forth by the board of directors. In the past, they have been speaking one's truth, that life begins again, living fearlessly, that doors open to new opportunities. And this year, we explore the next step, unleash your inner pirate. A reckoning with the past, newfound strength to forge ahead. And your support tonight helps to provide that strength to forge ahead and live like a pirate. Welcome to our pirates far and wide who are joining us virtually tonight. Hopefully you're comfy and with some victuals and grog. Pirates in the room, please continue to enjoy your dinner as we continue our program, starting with our golden ticket raffle. So Teresa will cue up our raffle. No problem. While we're finding this, I'm sure you noticed our lotto pirate wandering through the room. Pirates, come to the stage and we'll draw your winner. All right, do we have the bucket? All right. Okay. Just waiting on the bucket. I think if last minute someone's buying their last minute tickets. So. All right, we've got a few up front that still want to buy. Okay, while we're waiting on the Lotto Pirate with the last minute purchases of tickets, we'll go back and we'll do the golden ticket drawing. Here we are. And we'll spin. Big money, no whammies. All right, Shauna Speck. Congratulations, Shauna. We'll get with you to choose your trip. All right, are we still selling tickets? Okay. All right, real quick. On your table, you'll find our annual report. Our annual report was we strive for transparency. We want you all to know how your dollars are being spent. So please feel free to take copies of the annual report, share it with others. If you'd like more copies, we can get you more copies. But please read through those. And again, it gives you all the information about the foundation and how your funds tonight will be spent. All right. Do we need to move to do the Lotto Pirate later?
Are y'all good? Oh.
They're making their way.
Okay,
There's a couple more
Tyler,
up
we've
front.
got people who keep opening their wallets for Lotto Pirate. So let's put that on hold and
We'll do that later this evening.
let's do it.
Sounds great.
Let's tell them about casino night.
All right. Well, last note, our program will be about an hour or so, depending on the Lotto Pirate, and we'll have casino night. So everyone in the room will receive booty bucks. When you get started, your winnings will determine how many raffle tickets you can enter for the prizes. And there's some great prizes back there, from liquor baskets. There's hidden surprises in our stuffies. So once you cash out your raffle tickets, you can deposit those into the baskets to determine if you would, or for the raffle for those prizes. So, and did I mention it's also going to be an open bar? So all of those things, the prizes tonight was brought to us by our gracious sponsors listed in the program. So I'd like to give a round of applause to all of our sponsors for this evening. Now I'd like to introduce our MC for the evening. Making her third appearance as our MC, not to mention doing an amazing job bringing us our keynote speaker last year virtually, Fox News 26 anchor Caitlin Monty. I'm sorry?
How you doing? Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to see a room full of people once again. Pleasure to see all of you. This far and away remains my favorite event that I've gotten to go through in Houston, because this is always the best crowd, always a good time, and it's always an honor to be here. For me, it's a huge honor because I've had a lot of reasons why this organization has meant a lot to me. When I was 20 years old, I was hired by the USO to move to New York City and become part of their official entertainment troupe, touring and performing for our military and our heroes. I got to be flown on Chinooks out to carriers and perform for them. I got to go to veterans hospitals and sing bedside and see people come alive as they hear songs they hadn't heard since their younger days. But in doing that, we learned a lot and heard a lot of stories. And I developed that appreciation that we all should have for the people who are serving our country and the grace with which they do that, and how wonderfully their families support them and support all of us and the silent sacrifices they make. And so it became a huge passion of mine to continue to find ways to support that community. To our heroes, absolutely. So with the USO for about 5 years, I got to hear a lot of stories, see a lot of people, and learn a lot about the process of coming back into the world after serving and the challenges that come with that. And that's where when I heard about Dive Pirates, I said, this is great. On the other side of it, I grew up one of 4 siblings in my household, and I was the only one who did not grow up with a disability. Every single one of my siblings had a disability, each very different. And I learned from a very early age that that difference of theirs was just a scratch on the surface of a whole big person inside. And for me, that was very normal. And it never occurred to me that anyone might treat them any different. And then when I got out in the world and I saw them start to feel seen different, that was a challenge for me. And I became so excited when I heard about organizations like Dive Pirates that let someone be seen for something other than the difference, and that take down those barriers for people so they can just feel included. So it is, again, an honor to be here supporting everyone, and an honor to be in a room full of people who are taking their evening to support something so incredible. A lot of people put a lot of work into bringing us back in person for this event this year, and it's right up there as a great crowd. I mean, always a great event. So I do want to honor those who are here on the board. Those of you who are board members, can you stand or raise a hand just for a moment so we can take a moment to honor you? Look around the room, take a look at those who are doing the great work for the Dive Pirates organization. We also have some of the officers for Dive Pirates here. Those of you who are officers, raise your hands, stand up, give us a chance to recognize you. And we have some incredible people who run the day-to-day for Dive Pirates. Where are those of you? Put your hands up, stand up, give us a chance to say hello. Fantastic, look at that. It's good to be together in person again, because it's been a very tough couple years for everyone. But with everyone in the room, we were able to stay in touch. Thanks to your support. Over the past year or so, we've been able through Dive Pirates to continue to function virtually, able to stay in touch and have a trip in 2021 for 5 new recipients. So the work did not stop, even when the world paused. And those recipients had that chance to embrace what it means to just feel true and be fearless, and join the 245 past recipients. 245 people had their lives changed by this organization. And I say changed because everyone I've talked to who's been a recipient has said that it truly was a turning point for them. So incredible work, incredible Dive Pirates. We have quite a few of you here, in fact. So go ahead, raise a hand, stand, give a holler. Let's recognize our recipients, because that's why we're here. This night is for you. Enjoy. We're all here to wrap that support and continue to love on those who've done so much for us. One of those crew members who's here tonight was a recipient from 2009, continues to do a lot of work leading, inspiring, and fighting for better treatment for our injured men and women who have served our country. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Gade graduated from West Point in 1997, served as a West Point, everyone West Point, let's hear it. We got a couple. Served as a company commander in Iraq in 2005. He was wounded twice. The second incident resulted in the amputation of his entire right leg and other substantial injuries. He worked at the White House from 2007 to 2008, so several years after those injuries. At the White House working, earning his PhD from the University of Georgia, taught at West Point for 6 years before retiring from the Army in 2017 after 20 years of service to our country. He's a co-founder of the Independence Project, which is an experimental, privately funded effort to help veterans find jobs and provide for themselves and their families so that they don't have to rely on government benefits and support. He's written and spoken extensively on that issue and the traps and disincentives that he feels the veterans' disability system creates. And please help me welcome him tonight as our keynote speaker, Daniel Gade.
All right. Well, in a sense, while I find my notes here, in a sense, it's actually pretty tragic that I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. One of them, and the most important reason that it's tragic that I'm here, is that it means that Barbara Thompson's first, second, third, and fourth choices are sick, ill, or injured, and that's pretty sad. So let's pray for their health. So I'm really excited to be here. I think I don't actually remember, and Barbara and I were talking about this earlier, and she thinks 2007, and I think maybe 2008. But I was a recipient way back when Die Pirates was a little more of a baby organization than the one we have here tonight. And you know, I do quite a lot of public speaking. Part of my bio that's not in here is that I was the Republican nominee for United States Senate in Virginia in 2020, where I won more votes than any Republican in Virginia statewide history, and yet got beaten like a rented mule by 400,000 votes. Nevertheless, I've done quite a lot of public speaking, and so I know the golden rule of public speaking, which is get up, be seen, and get down. So I'm not going to speak that long. One of my favorite parts of this event, and I've spoken at this one once before, I think 12, 13 years ago, something like that. My favorite part of this event is the chance to whip out the old pirate jokes. So I'm going to try some on you. What do you call a pirate with no arms and no legs? An expert. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I hear a lot of moaning. I hope you're okay. How much does a pirate pay for his peg and hook? An arm and a leg, obviously. Come on, do better, do better. Listen, I admit that those jokes are pretty lame. You're welcome. Listen, I can keep going for hours. I'm not gonna. These are basically dad jokes, and I am a dad. But I'll tell you a secret. I hope my family's not watching tonight, because my favorite, truly favorite part of this event is the fact that I can say the word booty as much as I want. So booty, booty, booty. There we go. Let's get down to business. I want to talk tonight briefly about two things. And the two things I want to talk about are pain and thriving. And I'm not going to tell you any war stories. I know that all of us here, many of us here have war stories. All of you have heard war stories, and I'm not going to tell you any war stories tonight. The story I'm going to tell you today starts on the 11th of January, 2005. Back when I spoke before, I told you about the 10th of January, 2005, but today starts on the 11th of January. My war ended the day before that, on the 10th, when I was mangled by an IED in Iraq. I did not become conscious for a couple more weeks, but when I woke up at the beginning of February, my world had changed forever. And all of us, every single person in this room, has a story just like mine. Everybody here has or will experience deep pain. And if you have not, you will. If you have not, your pain lies in the future. If you have, some of your pain lies in the past, and probably more pain lies in the future. Every one of us will experience pain. And some of us have been shot, we've been blown up, we've been burned, we've been paralyzed. Others have been heartbroken, disappointed, fired, diagnosed, divorced, or widowed. So the fact that we either have or will experience pain is a given. The only question remaining is how we respond to it. Philosophers have struggled with the meaning of and response to pain for as long as humans have been speaking, writing, or thinking. Socrates said, how strange would appear to be this thing that men call pleasure, and how curiously it is related to what is thought to be its opposite, pain. The two will never be found together in a man, and yet if you seek the one and obtain it, you are almost bound always to get the other as well, just as though they were both attached to one and the same head. Wherever the one is found, the other follows behind. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, actually, who has experienced deep pain, and I told him that one of the lessons of life that I've learned is that it seems as though you're given two cups when you're born, a cup of pleasure and a cup of pain. And the only rule of life is you have to drink equally from both. 2,500 years ago, another Greek philosopher wrote, and I'll dime myself out here. I know who the Greek philosopher is. I just can't pronounce his name. Anyway, he says, "He who learns must suffer. And even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart. And in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God." Another more recent writer says, "Bad things do happen. How I respond to them defines my character and the quality of my life. I can choose to sit in perpetual sadness, immobilized by the gravity of my loss, or I can choose to rise from the pain and treasure the most precious gift I have, life itself." Unfortunately for veterans, too often the response is shaped by forces outside our view or control. Since World War I, powerful political and social forces have made the wrong choice the easy choice. I saw the effects in my time at Walter Reed, where I spent nearly a year, and the causes in my time at the White House and studying behavior professionally as a researcher. Here's what it looks like. Couched in compassion, government seeks to mend wounds by applying monetary bandages called disability payments without ever considering that a veteran would be better served by true social, psychological, and physical rehabilitation before the word disability is even considered. And we see the wreckage of these terrible policies all around us. The VA spends billions on suicide prevention, and yet veteran suicides are at all-time highs. And young, vibrant, and capable men and women are labeled, shoved off into the sidelines of society, and treated as though they are broken toys instead of valuable contributors to society. I won't bore you or horrify you with the details. Here in the room someplace are copies of the full book-length treatment that I wrote about this. It's called Wounding Warriors. Shameless plug, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. I've always wanted to say that. Actually, the audiobook, which is available on Audible, is narrated by me. So if you wanted to listen to the same thing for 9 hours, I'm your guy. Help send my kids to college. The system pays veterans to be sick and then turns around and wonders why we have so many sick veterans. But there's a better way forward, and organizations like this one are keys to it. In helping those with various kinds of disabilities to thrive, Dive Pirates contributes to an essential function, getting all Americans involved in their families and communities in a healthy and vibrant way. You know this, but I'll say it out loud. This organization is not about scuba diving. Instead, it uses scuba to teach resilience, character, and the overcoming of boundaries, hopefully equipping each participant with the tools to help them return home and contribute to their families and to society. That's what it did for me. I'll admit, and Barbara, can I get a witness? Do you know how to do that? Yeah, you're supposed to say amen. There we go. Can I get a witness, Barbara? There we go. All right. I'll admit I was worried. I knew how to scuba dive before I got hurt. I'd done some diving. But after I got hurt, I thought that scuba was off the table for me, like so many other things, gone forever. But the only real barrier I had to scuba diving was the one in between my ears, and that's the one I had to overcome. And I discovered, to my great joy, that it was easy. After all, flippers for everybody are prosthetic devices. So what's the problem? But what I really got out of it was a renewed sense of confidence in my ability to overcome, adapt, and thrive. The most important lesson of scuba to me, though, is a little different. It's the most important lesson of thriving in any intense, dangerous, or scary time. You're never alone. I've learned this lesson many times. My wife and I have been married almost 23 years. When we'd been married just 5, I went to war, and I came back changed. So I got blown up in January '05, and I was unconscious until the beginning of February. And in about June, I was out talking to somebody, and she said to me, you know, you're great, Daniel. And I said, thank you. You're totally right. And she said, but your wife is amazing. And I, well, yeah, amen. And she said, when you were unconscious in the hospital, every single day, your wife would be with you from 5 o'clock in the morning when surgical rounds started until 2 o'clock the next morning when it was clear that you weren't going to die that day. And then she would go back to the hotel where she was staying, and she would get an hour of sleep, and she would get up, and she would shower, and she would do her hair and her makeup, and she would come back to the hospital. And I listened to that, and I was reflecting on it, and I thought, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. The part about the makeup and hair is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So I went back to where Wendy was that day, and I said, hey, you know, this lady just told me this story, and I'm confused. I don't understand. In 45 minutes of it, and she said to me, she said, Daniel, I knew that in your mind you were still in Iraq. And when you got back, I wanted to be beautiful for you. So I don't have to go through my life alone. I've got a great marriage. I've got a great wife who loves me deeply. And my family, in other ways, has been key to my thriving throughout the years. When my daughter was, she was 2.5 when I got blown up, and she turned 3 in the hospital. And right after she turned 3, I was still in a wheelchair. I had a broken pelvis. I'd had this amputation. My other leg was messed up. My hands were messed up. And I'm in this power wheelchair. And this is 2005 at Walter Reed, which is a government facility. So it's a really janky wheelchair, which it was power, you know, and it would if you left it on, but you didn't touch the remote, it would like go crazy and drive all over the place. And so I didn't want to do that. And my daughter, who's then 2.5, she's now 19 and a sophomore at Auburn University, but she's then 2.5 or 3, whatever it was, and she's playing Legos on the floor in front of me. She's playing Legos on the floor in front of me, and she says, this is big Legos, big fat ones, Duplos, I think they're called. She's playing the big fat Legos, and she turns around to me, she says, Daddy, will you play with me? And I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, I can't. She said, okay. She turned around back to her Legos, and she said under her breath, my daddy can't do anything. And that moment sticks in my mind, and I actually have a picture of it on my phone, because I decided right then and there, with my daughter's prodding, that I was going to be the sort of man who would do everything. So I turned off the wheelchair so it wouldn't run away. And I crawled out of the wheelchair onto the floor, and I sat on my broken pelvis on the floor, and I played Legos with a kid. And it changed my life forever, because I didn't have to do that by myself, because I had somebody with me. And just like that, when you're scuba diving with an organization like Dive Pirates, you don't do it alone. And the people who are with you in the water, and the people who are helping you thrive and survive in the water, are also willing to be there with you on the land, because that's where people live. And they'll help you thrive on the land too. So for our Dive Pirates recipients, I hope you do what I do when you come to an event like this, which is look around you and realize that every single person in this room will help you thrive. And all you have to do is say, I need your help. And everybody here will help you thrive. But it's not free. Because in return, you owe it to them to succeed and to thrive. And for I'm almost done. That's a premature. You're premature. So for our donors, sponsors, and friends, thank you for supporting this phenomenal organization. You are all heroes in my book. Thank you so much. Scary.
We won't let you go yet. All right, I know we have a gift up here. I don't want to pick the wrong one, Tyler. Okay, good. Their label. You are. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for our guest speaker.
Thank you.
So everyone just felt that, right? When he talked about getting down to play Legos. We all felt that moment. And that's what Dive Pirates made happen for 5 people last year. Because that moment may happen multiple times, but it's a pivotal moment. Those are the moments where our life changes course. It's when you flip the book and a new chapter starts. We all get that chance, but sometimes someone has to help us with the page. And last year, 5 people were able to do that through Dive Pirates, thanks to those who were part of the virtual fundraising that happened last year. Virtual fundraisers are not as fun as being here together having dinner, but people still stepped up. So now we get to see and hear from those who benefited from that support in their own words.
It was relaxing. It's pain-free. It's like a different world. There's no stress. Out here, it's just fun. Just fun. All fun. I was introduced to my first IED October 4th, 2001, because I served as a special operations soldier. I was an 18C demolitionist. Actually, I was a diver doing demolition. And but I didn't get hurt in the water. I got hurt on land where it ruptured my C2 all the way to T1 and L4, L5. The transition is not just physical, it's also mental. For a guy that was on the top of his game, the mental part comes in play too, where you can't do the things that you used to. And I've never thought that I would be out in the water diving. After I leave from here, it's going to continue. Going to continue, and I'm going to be back again. And I'm going to continue to be with Dive Pirates.
Dive Pirates, I couldn't have done it without you guys.
How does that feel?
Going down diving, it's like a high. It's just something that you just have to experience. It's great. It's made me live again. I was on a trip, went to Alabama, had a good fun weekend. And on my way back, I pulled over because I was about to fall asleep. I got in the back seat, let my buddy drive. I fell asleep. He fell asleep while we were driving. And we hit a culvert and went head over back. I was asleep in the back seat, and that's all I remember. So I woke up in the hospital. I knew something was bad wrong. My mom was there, and my girlfriend was there. And they come and told me that I had spinal cord injury. I just wanted to know right then if I was going to be able to walk again. And they didn't know. We had to put work into it. You've given me a reason to live. is what makes me feel like I'm alive again. Doing something like this, this makes you feel alive again. And I know if other people can do it too, they feel the same way.
I thought as a paraplegic that, you know, I wouldn't probably be able to do some things, but for me, you're your own worst enemy. The Marine Corps was mentally and physically challenging. So this, when I saw, I was like, whoa, that's it? I'm just paralyzed from the waist down, thank God. And they're telling me I can't walk. Well, I don't listen to what anyone says anyways. So I did all the PT, rehabilitation, everything. And they said I'd never feel anything in my feet again. And I got my feeling back. So I tell myself, you know, got buck up and take a chance. And I did, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I used to dive before this, so I love diving. And it feels amazing on the body. And taking in the scenery and just being happy. And that's all I care about for myself. The depth, I like going pretty deep. We've been going in 30s, but still, that, you know, new area. I like visiting new areas, experiencing new experiences that I can go back onto. And frankly, I mean, it's nice here. I love it. I mean, I'm grateful to be alive. You know, I could be the woe is me kind of guy, always in bed, not talking to anyone and depressed and never getting out just because of my lower half. And that's not acceptable. You know, my arms still work, my brain still works, so there should be no excuse to do anything you want.
I went into the Marines in 1966, boot camp in California, San Diego, and then basic infantry training, and then over to Okinawa for a little respite, actually, for a few days, and then right into Vietnam. It was several months into while I was there, not quite halfway through my tour. I think a better part of 5 months. And we were just walking through an area that had been booby-trapped, and I was the one that found out that we were there. And so we halted. I went flying through the air. I didn't lose my leg right away, but a lot of damage that eventually, by the time I got back to the States, I got gangrene and had to take the leg off. I heard about what you were doing, and I thought, oh my gosh, scuba, yeah. That's something I think I really need to find out more about. When this opportunity came along, I jumped. I really did. And it is utterly fantastic. The experience of being down there underwater is just, I mean, it almost is indescribable. Unless, even though I snorkeled, looking at stuff from the surface, looking down is almost like looking in a big aquarium tank. Until you're in it, actually swimming with the fishes and looking at the coral and just studying it, it was amazing. The other day, which was my first time, I mean, the smile on my face, I couldn't stop it.
So a lot of people that have gone through what some of these guys have gone through, they always say, you know, I don't think I could ever live like that. But you don't realize how adaptable the human body is, the human spirit is. I was injured on an oil rig in 2002, so it has been 19 years. A lot of times I forget what it was even like to have my left arm, which was my dominant arm. And I've been using my right arm for almost 20 years now. I can still remember the beginning. You don't really realize what the impact is going to be when you get back home. And I knew that the transition was going to be all on me. We saw 2 nurse sharks. One was probably about a 4.5, 5-footer, yellow fin snapper. You know, they're huge in abundance there. I've strived to do as much as possible, and even more than I'd probably be doing it with both arms.
What Dive Pirates does and scuba diving, when you get underwater and you're just floating around, you're really just like everybody else. There really are no disabilities underwater.
People are always saying, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. You know, where I don't think anybody owes me anything, you know, because, you know, I did it because it was the right thing to do to defend my country. And if I had to do it again, I would do it again without hesitation. But I would like to say thank you to all the people that donated and made this possible. It really You know, so I want to say thank you for my service. You've said it. You've said it all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. A big thank you. It's almost, well, it is overwhelming. It really is overwhelming that you just took me in, trained me, got me down here, got me onto the boat, got me into the water, and even better, got me out of the water. And then again and again.
Thank you not only for the donation and to be able to keep this program alive and going, having certain types of limitations, and then finding out that those limitations aren't going to inhibit you from doing something amazing like this.
Thank you. God bless you. There's nothing that I can say, and I don't want to get teared up or cry or anything, but if it wasn't for the people, Dive Pirates, and the people that helped out, I wouldn't have the experience. Wouldn't have the experience with my son. I just thank them and God bless them.
Pump that in my veins. If it's not the most inspiring, beautiful thing every year to get to see the recap of what they got to do and to hear from those who got to do it. And we have the honor of having a very special person with us who you just saw in the video. Scott Wilson was just 3 weeks away, as you heard him mention, from joining the Marines when an oil field accident almost took his life, but didn't. And he's here today with his amazing journey. Please help me welcome our 2021 honorary recipient, Scott Wilson.
So I'll start with a pirate joke. What's the pirate's favorite letter? You'd think it's R, but no, it's the C. So June of last year, I joined the ranks of Dive Pirates. But realistically, I was drinking rum and had a hook long before. June 10th, 2002, I lost my arm on an oil rig. I was an assistant driller out in West Texas. And we were moving a rig, faulty equipment. Cable had snapped. I was running a big scissor forklift. As the cable had snapped, my load had shifted. Formation collapsed out from under me. And as it had shifted, the forklift started coming over sideways. Now, in your training, you know to hold on to the steering wheel and just let the headache rack sort of take the blunt of the force. What had happened is my seatbelt had popped open. As I was being ejected, I seen that my head was about to get crushed by the headache rack. So I jumped for it, and I jumped as hard as I could. But when I hit the ground, I knew something was completely wrong. I felt big pressure on me, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. I started grabbing towards dirt, and when I looked back, I seen that my arm was actually ripping away from me. And I seen that my leg was pinned, my ribs were crushed, and I screamed out. I didn't feel anything. I just screamed out knowing that something was, completely wrong. I could see in the faces of my coworkers, of all the guys that were working under me, that something was badly, that I was hurt very badly. I could feel, warmth going around me. Luckily, my uncle, airborne ranger, he was up on the rig floor. He had seen everything happen. He come running down, and he instantly, even though everybody else was freaking out, he started lining everybody out. Go get a front end loader from the other location. We need to get this thing off of him. Go get me something that we can tourniquet him. Go get the first aid kit. I mean, he was on it. They ended up getting the front end loader, pulling the 15,000 pounds off of me. And as they pulled me out, I was just scared because they were pulling me with the chain. The chain felt like it was going to snap. They pulled me out. My uncle tourniqueted me. And the biggest thing, I just told him, like, don't let go of my hand. Like, I don't want you to leave, because he was going to go and try to get on the satellite phone, try to get life flight in. He stayed with me the whole time. I was there for 6 hours before we were able to get into a bus. And in the beginning, I didn't feel any pain. About 2.5 hours in, pain started really rushing in. And he kept me awake, kept me from wanting to go to sleep, kept me from going into shock. And in the middle of it, he was sitting there slapping me because I was losing a lot of blood, slapping me. And I told him, you slap me again, I'm going to kill you. And he said, that's exactly what I want to hear from you. And so fast forward, I ended up San Angelo Hospital, and then they moved me to University Hospital in San Antonio, where I was 1 month in ICU. And then after that, I spent 5 months in inpatient physical therapy, occupational therapy. Now, with those 6 months, you have nurses that are doing everything for you. And you have people always coming and checking in on you and everything. It wasn't until I got home that I really realized that this is my life. I got home, and I was home alone. And I was trying to wash dishes. I was still in a wheelchair at the time because my leg had been crushed and I had 7 reconstructive surgeries. And I started doing dishes, and I couldn't hold a bowl still. And I went into the hallway. I broke down and I was crying. I cried for about 2 hours straight, just by myself. And then I sort of talked to myself, and I said, Scott, this is your life. I mean, you can either sit here and wallow in it, or, make something. So I got my wheelchair. I went down to the corner store. I got a 12-pack. And I have a 1966 Mercury. I ended up dropping the transmission, getting up under there. My dad was living with me at the time, and he comes home. I'm under there. I'm still bandaged up with a 12-pack of beer and dropping the transmission. He was like, what are you doing under there? Getting mad at me because I'm still in bandages. And I said, well, it's not going to drop itself. So I decided, I was always a mechanic and construction. I decided that I need to start using my mind, and I went to college. Went to UTSA, and I graduated magna cum laude from business school. Thank you. And but then, life threw me another curveball. Right after I graduated, I had a lot of prospects with a lot of different good corporations. And then my 4-year-old daughter was diagnosed with medulloblastoma. It's a type of pediatric brain cancer. She's good now. She's 10 years in remission. But, the only thing in your mind at that time is keep her alive, keep her safe. So we moved to St. Jude Hospital up in Memphis and did all her treatments up there. And then it's a long story, and I don't want to drag it on too much, but it is she had a long road ahead of her also. She had to go through physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Because of the brain surgery, they had to take a golf ball sized tumor out of her brain. During that time, I completely quit my job, and that was my sole job, was to take care of her. During that time, I started painting. And when I lost my arm, my dominant arm was my left arm. And so when I started to paint, it was very difficult. I used to draw with my left arm, graphite and charcoal, but I started painting with my right arm, and it was a very big learning curve. And that's what I do for a living now, is I'm an artist. You can see one of my paintings over here off to the side. Well, during that time, I met a gentleman named Albert Garcia, which is also a recipient, one of the earlier recipients. And he had told me about this amazing foundation, dive pirates, that he had just gone on a dive, and I believe it was Cayman Islands, if I was right. And this was some years back. And I said, man, that sounds amazing. And I sort of fell to the wayside. And we've done a lot of adaptive things. First 12 years, I didn't know anything about adaptive sports. But since then, I've done seal fit, wake surf, wakeboard, snow ski. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I ran a marathon raising money for St. Jude. Well, about 2 years ago, me and Albert were sitting there drinking whiskey, and he says, "You know what? I'm just gonna give Teresa your number, and you got to go dive. It's going to be one of the most amazing experiences you ever been through." And it was about a week later, Teresa had called me, and now it was started. But this is like the very beginning of the pandemic. We had the idea of going to Cayman Brock, and things had gotten postponed, but everybody had, on behind the scenes that I don't know, had overcome and adapted, and found a way with all the travel restrictions to be able to do the trip in Key Largo, which was amazing. And you've seen in the videos, Jared, I don't know how long they had spent with him. It was like a couple years just to be able to be comfortable with him, with all the safety precautions. You can see Cameron, like on land, yeah, he has some limitations being in the chair, but underwater, man, he was like a fish. He was doing upside down pirouettes and backflips and laying on the floor. There was one time just laying on the floor and enjoying just laying in the sand. And my girl Jennifer goes up to him, and he's just like, "No, I'm okay. He's just taking it in." But it was an amazing experience. Like I said, I'd climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which was beautiful, but it's like a whole new world being underwater. And I think the water is like the ultimate equalizer. You might have leg amputations, spinal injuries, arm amputations, and learning your buoyancy and being able to move through the water, it feels completely different. Anyways, I wanted to thank Jennifer, my dive buddy, and I think it's a great thing having a dive buddy, having the way the program's setting up, having somebody to share that experience with, that you live with, or maybe one of your friends or a spouse. I'd like to thank Greg, my instructor, was amazing, and I think he ran our boat, and he had to adapt to each and every person, because you have to go. It's always different from spinal injuries, like I said, and different amputations, and everybody behind the scenes. And I also would like to thank each and every one of you, everybody who has donated and who has been a recipient and that keeps this foundation going. But thank you.
Before you leave, we have something for you, Scott. We want to give you this. We want to thank you for sharing your story, reliving that for a moment, but being an inspiration to all of us and letting Dive Pirates be part of your journey.
All right. Thank you.
We mentioned his paintings. He motioned in the direction of the painting that's here tonight, and that brings us to our live auction. Our auctioneer, Valerie Grimm, will be coming on up to get things going. Man, this is always fun. For our friends watching virtually, we want to thank you. We hope you've enjoyed being part of the program when watching. Can everyone wave, give a big R, everything to our virtual friends and companions? R! We appreciate you. We hope you'll consider giving a donation as you log off. And thank you for being with us. We hope to have you with us in person sooner than later. Now, Valerie's going to take over. But before Valerie does, I want everyone to check your paddles. You have a paddle with you. Look at it. Make sure it's got your name. Even if you're not planning to bid on anything tonight, which I hope you all are, make sure your name